Regular Town Council meeting, Monday, July 10th, 2023. Could we recite the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call vote, Dale Macklin,
Here.
Jerry Guerian.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Here.
Joseph Gravel.
Here.
Jeff West.
Here.
Lee Trahan.
Here.
And Peter Drapo.
Here.
And do we have any conflicts of interest for tonight's meeting?
No.
No. Approval of minutes from previous meeting, June 12th, 2023.
So move. Second.
Dale Macklin. Oh,
Any
Yeah.
discussion?
sorry.
Any discussion? There
Okay.
being none?
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Jerry Guerian.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
And Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. And communications, employee recognition.
So Amanda McCaslin here?
She is?
Yes, she is. She's hiding in the bright orange. So I'm gonna slide around you, Rocky.
Yep.
It's a long walk around. Amanda, if you would come up, please. Some of you may have heard of the SHAPE program. It's a program from the Maine Department of Labor that recognizes, it's called the Safety and Health Award for Public Employers, and it recognizes employers that have shown excellence and commitment to employee safety on the job. Our department heads did an excellent job this year. We had 2 departments that had absolutely no findings when the auditors went through. One of those was admin, the other one was parks. But that's not the reason I'm singling Amanda out. All of our department heads did a great job getting us all together and making sure that we achieved this certification. However, Amanda is the one that spearheaded the effort. She's been the one making sure that everybody stayed on task, got all their questionnaires filled out, got everything coordinated, and got the auditors here to do that. So in recognition for outstanding service, whereas Ms. McCaslin spearheaded the Safety and Health Award for Public Employers, or SHAPE certification, awarded to the town on June 12, 2023 by the Maine Bureau of Labor Standards, recognizing the town of Winslow's exemplary dedication to workplace health and safety, and whereas Ms. McCaslin dedicated numerous hours to coordinating the efforts of the other department heads and ensuring that all certifications were met, and whereas Ms. McCaslin's own department was certified with no identified deficiencies, now therefore, this certificate of recognition is presented to Amanda McCaslin for her outstanding service to the town of Winslow on July 10th, 2023.
So we have no boards or committee appointments tonight. Reports of committees and commissions, the town manager's report.
Good evening, esteemed counselors, Attorney Lee, members of the public. It's really hard to believe we've just gone through another fiscal year already. It seems like we just got started last July, but already we have closed the books on June and we're getting ready to open 2024. And we did a lot last year, but we've got a lot farther to keep going. I want to bring up that the month of June started with a celebration of one of our own Winslow residents. You may have seen it on our Facebook page. Peter Garrett, who is a Winslow resident and longtime founding member of the Kennebec-Messalonsky Trail System, was recognized at the 30th anniversary, or I'm sorry, the 25th anniversary of the trails on June 3rd over at the Paul J. Schupp Arts Center. Peter was recognized by naming a portion of the trail after him. It's the portion that runs through Benton. So that is now the Peter Garrett Trail. And he's still going after all this time. He's 83 years old, and he's still identifying new places where trails can go. And he keeps going to landowners and working with them to try and get more land added to the system. So I just wanted to congratulate Peter and thank him for all the hard work he's done on this, and for all the volunteers that work on that trail system. So congratulations to Peter. I'm going to skip over the Wally LaFountain award because Wally is not here with us, and we want to make sure that he is. But he is our 2023 Winslow Spirit of America Award recipient. So we'll make sure he's here next month and can accept his framed certificate and resolution. Again, the SHAPE Award I just mentioned, that was a lot of hard work. Not everybody achieves this award. I mean, you have to be very committed to identifying workplace health and safety hazards, correcting them, and documenting everything along the way. So again, thank you to Amanda, and thank you to everybody on the safety committee who made this happen. And congratulations to the department heads who also put in a great deal of work on making this happen. I wanted to announce that the police department has hired 2 new staff in June. They will be introduced to you shortly, but I wanted to welcome our newest patrol officer, Craig Johnson, and our first ever officer trainee, Dylan Rodrigue. Officer Johnson is a long-term law enforcement professional with more than 15 years of experience, and Mr. Rodrigue is our very first officer trainee. This is the very first time we've tried this program as a new way of bolstering up and building from within to recruit officers. So welcome to both of them. On June 27th, we interviewed a candidate for the code enforcement officer position. I am happy to say, after conducting his preliminary background check, we did tender an offer of employment, and he will be starting on July 17th. So I will announce him officially when he comes on board, but he has 23 years of experience in the construction industry. Was very well versed in his interview at Code. He's just not certified as a code officer yet. He has a couple months to get his licensed plumbing inspector, and he has a full year to get the rest of his code certifications. But Amos Michaud has agreed to stay with us through the end of summer to help train him and get him up to speed. So the combination of those two working together, I think, is going to be a really positive move forward. Public Works has tendered an offer of employment for a truck driver. Should the candidate accept, he will start in mid-July. The tax collector codes and assessing assistant position, at the time of me writing this report, had generated almost no applicants. However, we just put it out on Indeed, and now we're getting flooded with applicants of varying levels of clerical and administrative expertise. So hopefully we'll be able to fill that position as well in short order. As of June 29th, all non-union employees were eligible to join the main PERS retirement system. This allows our non-union employees to have the same retirement plan choices that were previously only available to police, fire, and public works. This is a really important recruitment and retention initiative for us. There's a lot of other towns that already participate in main state retirement, not to mention if we're trying to recruit from the state ranks. It's hard for people to jump those retirement plans and leave when they've already invested quite a few years into one. Additionally, when we are trying to promote from within, if we're promoting union employees, as we just did with Trevor Tucker, who became the public works foreman, without this, he would have to leave his retirement plan and start over with the ICMA plan. So we see this as a really good recruitment and retention tool, and I want to thank Tanya Gross for getting that all set up and making sure that everybody got their information sessions and had their opportunity to join. I also wanted to follow up on the do not drink order that was issued by KWD last month after we had the fire foam infiltrate the system at the building over there in Waterville that caused so much distress among the entire system. The interim public safety director, Deputy Fire Chief Scott Bolduc, Public Works Foreman Trevor Tucker, and I all went over to meet with KWD staff a couple weeks ago to talk about the event itself, what we do going forward, how they're going to address the known deficiencies in the system. The deficiencies in the system aren't necessarily theirs. They had nothing to do with the standpipes not being properly installed, but they do have testing authority, so they're going to be retesting every commercial system on that side of the river, as well as some in Oakland where they service, that's not under main water, Fairfield, which they service, and ourselves. They said Winslow would be done last, but all commercial buildings, which includes any rental units, will be inspected, and the goal is to get any deficiencies corrected before we have another incident. I wanted to commend Trevor because we were kind of wrapping up, and the elephant in the room was about how we got notifications out to the public. And Trevor's the one who stood up and said, who is responsible for getting the water out to the public? KWD is fairly insistent it's not them. I don't think we feel the same, so we kind of have to agree to disagree on that. But one of the things I stressed was the need for us to coordinate on emergency action plans going forward so that we know who's going to be responsible for what. They compared providing bottled water to if your power goes out, CMP does not provide you with a generator. Granted, but when you issue a do not drink order for an entire town, there's not exactly a place we can send people where there's a shelter with water because we're all on the same water system. So it is a little bit different. And while you can go to heating centers and such for no power, you can possibly live without your phone if the phone service goes down for a while. We can't live very long without water. So it's important. So more to come on that. We did agree to work together moving forward on an emergency action plan. But just wanted to update everybody on that, which leads into the topic of notification systems. I reported last month that we would start looking into different options for getting emergency notifications out to the public. Again, I write this for June 30th. As of right now, we have met with go.gov, which is a really great system that can do a lot of things for us, but it pretty much requires that people have a smartphone, or at least a phone capable of text, or a desktop computer to use it, and people have to sign up. A dialing system, we would probably be looking at something along the lines of what the school has. Right now, there's no solutions that do both phone notifications, where they just mass dial everybody on the system, and an email/text notification. So we may be looking at a variety of solutions to this. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that none of these will automatically notify everybody if they don't sign up to be on the notification list. So whatever solutions we do get out there, we're going to try to push those out through our normal channels, through the website, through social media, postings on the town office bulletin board. And when that comes out, please make sure that you're signing up for notifications if you want to receive them. Otherwise, there's no way to guarantee you're going to get the word in a timely fashion. In project news, we did issue the contract for the Chaffee Brook Pump Station river crossing. We had our pre-construction meeting last week. The good news in that is that because we have chosen to go with CWSRF funding, we're not going to be held to the Build America, Buy America Act pricing and procurement requirements, which would have required us to source all materials from primarily U.S. sources, which gets very tricky in certain components. They may be an American company, but if the product is actually built overseas and then sold here under an American name, it doesn't qualify, and it can get really tricky with some of these things. We will have to adhere to American iron and steel standards, but we'll still be able to get a little bit of a break when it comes to things like sourcing the generators and such that are going to go with that project. So that's positive. We're still looking at starting the construction on the river crossing itself in fall of 2023. We've got a very tiny window when that can happen, when the fish aren't running in the river. Actually, the contractor asked if we could try and get a waiver on that at all. We're going to look, but in general, the DEP, and actually it's the MDMR, is not very favorable towards stretching out those timelines. So it's really about 2 weeks in November that we can actually get this work done. There's nothing new to report on Sunset Heights, but an update. Last month I reported that Senator Collins' staff would be coming to view that and the Chaffee Brook pump station. They had to cancel twice because of other priorities going on. They did say they'd reschedule, but to date they haven't been here. The contract for Cushman Road Stormwater, which is the one that we got the big main infrastructure adaptation grant for, that one's been awarded to Eastwood Contractors, and the contractor has begun their mobilization, so we're looking at starting construction probably in August. The one thing is, again, that one is required to adhere to the BABA requirements, and there may be an issue with getting concrete pipe in a timely fashion, so that may push that back. But right now, we're still on track for August. The environmental study for the old Winslow Junior High School is continuing, but is getting close to the completion. I spoke with Craig Wilson at Icon Environmental, and he says they are nearly complete with phase 1, which consists of analyzing everything in the building itself, and they'll be moving on to phase 2 to test the underground shortly. There are many factors they've already identified which are going to cause this to be a fairly expensive project, including things like fire blocks in the walls that are made out of asbestos. There's a roof lining which was just put on top of the other lining which has asbestos. The DEP is well aware of the underground tanks there and that they've never been drained, so we're definitely going to have some abatement going on there. And his estimate is, in his words, all day it's $600,000 to $750,000 at a minimum. So
For the
but
abatement of the demolition?
for the demolition and the abatement.
Okay.
But he said he would have a firm estimate for us by the end of, it says July here, it should say August. They should be wrapping that up. Obviously, Taconic Bridge is ongoing. We had some issues with the intersection up there at Augusta Road and Carter Memorial Bridge as they are putting in the turn lane there. Unfortunately, these projects have a lot of moving parts, and the only reason that they're doing that project right now is so that they can do the project on the Taconic Bridge. They will not shut down the Taconic Bridge for the full closure until that turn lane's ready to go. The town and the city of Waterville likewise have no actual authority over this project at all. It's an MDOT project, and then they filter it down to their contractor, which is Chinbro. Sometimes Chinbro does things that are not quite the way that was agreed to with the MDOT project engineers. In this case, the way they did the lane closure and flagging setup up there was not what had been discussed. It did result in significant delays, so we apologize to the traveling public. But if there are complaints or concerns that anyone has regarding anything on this project, whether it be the Carter Memorial side of it, traffic signalization, when we get to the bridge itself, those are all to be directed to MDOT. And I have posted Robin Lanfear's contact information on multiple Facebook posts as well as on the website under the Taconic Bridge project itself. Last project news would be the municipal facility study. Haley Ward did submit a preliminary concept, which we all pretty much determined, and by all of us, I mean not so much the facilities committee, because I didn't share it out yet, it's too preliminary, but I went over it with the department heads and we rejected it as not being at all what we were looking at. They separated it into 2 buildings instead of having one conjoined building, and they attached one of those new buildings to Public Works, which was going to completely obstruct the flow of how operations work over there. So we sent them back to the drawing board. Basically, the design just failed to achieve what we need it to do to make it worth doing. So more to come on that. Outside of that, July is the start of our new fiscal year. We have a lot of irons in the fire. We're going to have another busy year. Our goal is to continue to make improvements year over year over year, try and get more done when it comes to improving the infrastructure, making repairs we need to do, get more development in our commercial corridors. We're making very slow progress, but it's still progress. We're going to get there. It just takes time, and I'm looking forward to what we get to do this coming year. That's all I've got.
Department reports.
Good evening. Very good news tonight. As you all know, the fire department's been up to par for quite a while with people. I believe within a month, We'll have the police department fully staffed once again, and with neighboring communities that have been years down police officers and firefighters. I think this really attests to the councilors and the town manager thinking outside the box and letting us get our pay competitive, which it is now, and also starting a new program, the apprentices program, which really is different than I've ever seen in my career. And I really think it's helped us to attract people. And we all know Winslow's a great place to work. So I'd like to introduce the three people, if you want to come up front, that are brand new for us. Just right over here. This won't be too painful. First one right here is Jonathan Chessay. He's the one that just graduated from Police Academy. He did a great job. He came to us with no experience at all, and he graduated in the top third of his academy, so he did a great job. So thank you, Jonathan. Welcome aboard. The second one here is Craig Johnson. Craig Johnson's a veteran police officer. He's been doing police work for 17 years. I've known him for many years. He's a Winslow resident. He comes to us with vast experience, and he's just an all-around good person. He's going to be a great community police officer for this town. So thank you, Craig, for joining us. We have Dylan Rodrigue. Pronounce it wrong? Rodrigue, okay. He's our new apprentices program person. He's doing the first non-certified police officer program. He's been doing it for well over a month now, and he's doing a really good job, and we hope this is going to set a lead example for other communities to, we really have to do things to attract police officers, firefighters, EMS people, and this is really a good example of taking someone who has no experience and hasn't even got his initial qualification, and we're starting him from ground zero, and he's doing a great job, and we hope to get him as a full-time police officer within a year. And today I interviewed another full-time applicant. We have one more position to go, and I believe within the month we will have that filled. We have two real good applicants. So I just want to thank the councils and the town manager, and thank you guys for joining the town of Winslow.
And just as a side note, Dylan is also a newlywed. He's only been married for a week, and he's really a brave guy there, taking on both the new job and marriage all at the same time. So way to go, Dylan.
He doesn't even know how brave he is.
Thank you very much once again.
Paul, are you doing anything? No? Okay. No one else? No. Okay,
Paul's got nothing?
Paul's got nothing. The Finance Committee reports were in your packet, and the financial reports as well. Do I have a motion? Right.
Motion to accept all reports.
Second?
Was that Lee or Jeff?
Lee.
Thank you. Roll call vote, Dale Macklin,
Yes.
Jerry Querian,
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
and Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
I got a question through the chair. Last month we were having some problems on the, what do you call it there? On a single department, public safety. There was a problem that was happening where some people were very unhappy. What's happening on that?
On which apartments?
Public safety proposed.
Well, the charge that was given at the last meeting was for any counselor that wished to do so to give me a request to overturn the ordinance and to do that in time for me to get it on this month's agenda, because we needed time to have a public hearing, again, on rescinding it. At this point, the Public Safety Department has passed. It is past July 1, and we have a Public Safety Department.
I did that, not through you because you were out on a medical issue. No, but I gave it to the town clerk.
No, you did not. What you did was said you were gonna stop in and see me, because I have not been out for more than a few hours at a time,
All right.
and you never came back to see me. But that was, the message I got was not that you wanted to repeal it, but that you wanted to extend the trial period.
That's right.
Okay, so I will go on record and here in front of everybody as saying, I have said to every one of you, that is not an acceptable way to go for either myself or the people who are doing the interim jobs in here. We either go one way or the other. It is unfair to ask us to continue to stay in limbo and to have to continually answer concerns from people that think that they can change things or overturn it and basically stir the pot. We need to be either back to the way it was, or we need to go forward with what was voted in. That's why I said, put it on the agenda to rescind it. There is no, for myself, and I don't believe for Mr. McDade over there, that either one of us are in agreement with going forward with anything else. I know I have had conversations with Lenny that we will simply not be able to continue with this. We just can't. The amount of stress that has gone into this over the last 6 months is possibly the worst I have ever seen in my career. And it's not just for me. It is leaving the departments in turmoil. It is not allowing us to settle down and get down to the business of doing our work.
Can we move on, Jerry?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. At this point, we have public comment. That gives anybody in the audience a chance to get up and speak about anything that is not on the agenda. You've got a 3-minute time period to do so.
I just have a quick question. I know you know me, I'm Fran Hudson. Just from what he said, I just honestly don't understand. Doesn't any counselor have the right to repeal the ordinance? And isn't that what he said he tried to do?
He didn't try to do that. That was not what was passed on to me.
Okay.
And I'm
But he
sorry.
can- But they can at any time, though.
They can at any time going forward.
Okay,
Anyone
that's-
can sponsor a movement, but it has to be done in a time frame where we can get it on the agenda.
Okay, I just didn't understand what just happened, because I thought they could repeal.
Can I just add something to that?
Go ahead, Dale.
Any counselor can request that it be put on the agenda to repeal that ordinance. If they do it through the clerk's office and through the town manager's office. It becomes on the agenda. When that is moved, it requires a second to further it before the council. So it not only takes one counselor to put it on the agenda, but it's gonna take a second counselor to second that motion when it comes before the council. If there is no second, the issue is dead. If there is a second, then we continue on with discussion and a council vote on whether to repeal it or not. But that's the proper procedure, is my understanding, that would have to go through in the future, if it ever came up again.
All set, Fran? Anybody else? Okay. We will move on.
So we have no tabled business tonight. Old business. Order number 24-2023, an order providing for authorization for the town manager to appropriate $264,460 from budgeted use of surplus and $39,000 from ambulance revenue to cover unanticipated fiscal year 23 expenditures, and the detailed list attached, which you should have.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Dale Macklin,
Yes.
Jerry Aquarian,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drappo.
Yes?
Motion passes 7-0. Order number 25-2023, an order providing for authorization for the Public Works to assist in maintaining Drummond Cemetery, to include annual spring and fall cleanups, as well as seasonal mowing.
So moved. Second.
Discussion?
Just one thing quick. Paul, do they have any records of that cemetery that you know of that we can get on who's buried there, where they're buried? Any of that type of stuff?
I'll ask Jason to talk to him.
Yeah, because if we're gonna take that over, we're gonna need that stuff going down the road. Okay.
Well, this isn't to take it over, this is just to mow it, isn't it?
For now.
Initially, that's
For
what
now.
this
Well,
order is.
yeah, but I mean, what's in
Yeah.
front of us is just, I want to be clear on that.
I do have in my notes to get the information on who's buried where and there
Yeah.
and the full records. That's not something we've been able to accomplish yet, but it's also not quite the order that's in front of us right now.
Again, the order that's in front of us is to maintain.
Yes.
Okay.
Short term. Short term.
Okay, Dale Macklin,
Yes?
Jerry Querian,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan
Yes.
and Peter Drapp.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay, on to new business. Order number 1-2023. Ordinance number 1-2023, providing for an amendment to the Winslow zoning map to rezone a portion of the Conservation District to the abutting rural district. The portion is described as all properties abutting the south side of the China Road from a point 1,285 feet east of Rainbow Lane to a point 481 feet northwest of the Bellows Stream, which includes tax map 5, lots 39, 39A, 40, 41, 41-1, 41-2, 41-3, 41-F, and 41-B.
So moved.
Second?
At this point, the planning board has come up with Plan B on this property, which is going to be the next ordinance for the public hearing. I would like to make a motion to table this ordinance for the time being.
Second. You make a motion, Peter?
Yes.
You did? I second.
And roll call vote for that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Dale Mac-
discussion first, right?
Any discussion on tabling this?
Could I make a point of clarification?
Yep.
With the chair? The planning board did issue in their recommendation memo that you all got that this should receive an ought not to pass based on their further recommendation that a better solution would be to change the conservation district conditional use from allowing a small store to allowing small stores. That allows, and the reason behind that is that it allows all of those properties to stay in the conservation district, which still affords all of the extra protections that go with that district, which means there's a higher standard for providing mitigation, for proving that you've met all of the requirements of the DEP, phosphorus emissions, things like that, that don't exist as stringently in the rural zone. So that was the reason for planning board's recommendation of ought not to pass.
Any more discussion?
So next meeting, we'll have a new order in place for that
Actually,
specific change?
you
Was
have
that your
a-
intent, Peter, too, or Erica?
You actually have an ordinance, the next ordinance
Oh,
on for
sorry.
tonight is
Okay.
actually recommending that second change to the conservation district, and we have a public hearing on for tonight. So this doesn't completely halt what's going on, it just kind of redirects it.
Yeah.
And in the end, since you're tabling, if you all table this ordinance, you can still bring it back if you decide not to go with the conservation district change. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Any more discussion? No?
Okay, so on the motion to table ordinance number 1-2023?
Yeah, I made the motion and Ray
Ray
seconded.
seconded,
Yeah.
okay. Dale Macklin?
Yes?
Jerry Querian?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
And Peter Drapo?
Yes.
Motion to table passes 7-0. So for ordinance number 2-2023, an ordinance providing for an amendment to section 300-50, chapter 2 of the town code, to modify the conditional use of small store to small stores by adding the underlined text per the attached copy. And this is a public hearing for this one.
Yes. At this time, you all can get up and speak with a 5-minute timeline pertaining to this particular change. Have at it.
Hi, I'm Lynette Casey, and I'm out at 18 Osprey Lane, which is out on Patty's Pond. And I'm also a member of the Prentice Line Road Association. That's a nonprofit that takes care of our roads for the private properties that a lot of our houses are on. And a lot of work, as you guys all know, has been put into making sure that the watershed is protected around Patty's Pond over the last many, many decades. In fact, in the 80s, the town of Winslow, I think, spent a lot of money and time to ensure that, and no news to many of you, right, that the pond has been cleaned up and is in much better shape than it was. Property values should be up, so therefore tax, etc. So thank you for hearing us at prior meetings. Many of the homeowners from around Patty's Pond came out to speak and really felt strongly that the conservation district be maintained. And so through a lot of discussion, I think the store versus stores discussion came about, and we feel that that would really help protect the conservation to allow the extra protections that Erica spoke about. So just speaking in favor of what the planning committee has said in ordinance number 02-2023. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? You sure? Okay.
So that gets referred back to planning board, so there's no vote tonight.
Okay, this has to go back to the planning board. So we will be voting on this next month.
Through the chair, if I might ask
Yeah, go
just
ahead,
one
Ray.
question. Gary, I hate to put you on the spot, but just for my clarification, could you explain to me the difference between small stores and small stores and what that ramification would mean to the site?
Okay, so the idea is that a small store is 3,000 square feet or less, I believe. And in that case, there would be more allowed small stores in that particular number of lots that were brought forth, as opposed to changing everything in the conservation district to rural zone to accomplish the same thing. It's that simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more discussion?
Just one for clarification, Peter. Stores, the definition of stores means storefronts. So you can put one building in with 5 storefronts instead of 5 separate buildings.
This doesn't automatically allow that. It still has to meet any other requirements. I mean, once you get over a certain size, it may not be compatible with the district anyway. The difference in the conservation district versus the rural district is that not only are there more restrictions to begin with, or more, it's a higher bar to get your project to pass. But in addition, the planning board has a lot more leeway to put additional constraints on any project, such as they need additional vegetative buffers. They might need to modify their plan the way that it sits on the lot. There's a lot of different things that they can do to make sure that it stays in harmony with the other properties in that area. DEP still has to issue all the permits that would go with that, and if a structure is too large to be accommodated on that property, on that set of lots, and still adhere to the environmental protections that are there, they wouldn't permit the property anyway. So, yes, it's multiple storefronts, and it doesn't specify in any of our other districts how many that is, but that's because that can be quashed at any time by meeting the, soil erosion, stormwater, runoff, all of that stuff has to be met, and DEP will come in and say that. In accordance with others as well, depending if you find wetlands, Army Corps is gonna get involved. So this does not permit any project at this time. Any project still has to go through all of those hoops. It just makes it possible that development can happen.
Any other discussion? Okay.
Okay. Moving on, ordinance number 3-2023, providing for an amendment to chapter 164 of the Town Code, medical marijuana, to adjust fees and allow adult use recreational marijuana in the town of Winslow, and rename the ordinance Town of Winslow Marijuana Ordinance by deleting the strike-through text and adding the underlined text per the attached copy.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Guess there isn't any.
Okay, do a roll call vote. Dale Macklin?
Yes?
Jerry Querian?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Joseph Gravel?
Yes.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Lee Trahan?
Yes.
And Peter Dropper?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Ordinance number 4, 2023, providing for an amendment to section 300-48, chapter 1 of the Town Code to allow adult use recreational marijuana facilities as a principal use in the industrial district by deleting the strike-through text per the attached copy.
So moved.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lee, was that you?
Oh, Jeff.
Jeff, sorry. And Jerry?
Yep. Discussion? There being none.
Dale Macklin.
Yes?
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Ordinance number 5-2023, providing for an amendment to section 300-45 D2 of the Town Code to allow adult use recreational marijuana facility as a conditional use in the mixed-use district by deleting the strike-through text and adding the underline per the attached copy.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Okay.
Dale Macklin.
Yes?
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
And Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Ordinance number 6-2023, providing for an amendment to section 300-50 C.2 of the Town Code to allow marijuana cultivation facilities as a conditional use in the Conservation District by adding the underlined text per the attached copy.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Okey-dokey.
Dale Macklin.
Yes?
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
And Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Ordinance number 7-2023, providing for an amendment to section 300-47 C3 of the Town Code to allow adult use recreational marijuana cultivation facilities as a conditional use in the rural district by adding the underlined text per the attached copy.
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
I just want to say one thing, Peter. This is the last of the marijuana ones, just for a simple explanation to the public. These aren't major changes to what we already have. Basically, the only real change is to allow adult use recreational sales in town. And it may sound like a lot, and we've gone through this, but most of it's just boilerplate stuff to get it into the real legal form, to have all of that stuff done. So if it sounds confusing and it sounds like we're doing a lot, we're not really doing a lot. And it all came to us, each one of these came to us from the planning board on ought to pass. So this really isn't changing a lot in town, except for the permit fees, and we're adding adult recreational use. The rest of this stuff that you've heard is just to get it into code, get it into the legal form. So,
Anyone else? Okay.
Dale Macklin,
yes.
Jerry Querian,
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
and Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay, order number 26-2003, providing for amending the order number 5-2023, the Chaffee Brook Pump Station Bond Financing.
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, through the chair, if I might, Erica or Paul, could you explain to me why it went from 6.8 to $7.8 million and what to just, I understand it, I just want to make sure, we're
Right.
voting on $1 million increase here. It's a
Paul, would
lot
you
of money.
like to address that, or would you rather have me do it?
I can do it. Not exactly sure we have the numbers, but.
So
I know
this
you
is-
don't have the exact numbers, but I just would like to know.
I mean, mostly
what-
it's just the cost of doing business with, the river crossing part of it. We had estimated 1.2, 1.4 million. We came in at 2.4 million. And it's just a lack of contractors, and everybody's busy, and there's a lot of work out there, so we're competing with, we had two bidders on a $2.4 million project, which a couple of years ago you would have had 6 or 7, so we're kind of being held hostage a little bit, and price of everything's going up, especially with the Buy American stuff. Some of this stuff is forcing us to, like the Cushman Road project, we're having to buy concrete pipe in the US. Most concrete pipe comes out of Canada, but that won't qualify this time, so you pay extra for some of that stuff. So the project hasn't changed, it's just the cost keeps going up, and we had to make some changes at Chaffee Brook because they didn't want the generator in the building, which we had already designed. They want it outside the building, so now we gotta go back and do some redesign and every time they redesign, we're paying for it, so that's most of what's happening there, so.
So as far as competitive bidding, there is no competitive bidding. in this.
Not like we had a couple of years ago, and I know when we get to the actual building part of it, there's probably 3, maybe 4 of these mechanical contractors that do that type of work. So there's not a lot of competition, so they charge what they want. They know there's all kinds of work out there. There's so much money out there, and everybody's doing something, so we're paying the price for it, unfortunately.
That's all I need to know.
Any other questions?
We have no choice.
Oh, I
No, we
understand
don't.
that,
There's just-
but I
it's just
want
frustrating.
people to know what we're facing here,
Oh, yeah.
when we're trying to budget, trying to make a budget here for the next 5 years, and things we have to do and capital we have to do, is that our hands are tied at this situation when we're looking at, mill rates and people on fixed incomes. It's just difficult. And I just want to make sure people understand
I mean, had this
what
been
we're
done,
facing here in the town of Winslow.
had we done this, 5, 8 years ago, probably would have been quite a bit cheaper, but it wasn't on the radar at that time, so. I mean, we've been working on this project for 3 years now before we actually get out the bid, so. The project has definitely changed prices going through the pandemic and everything else. That's it.
Thanks, Paul. All right, any more discussion? Go ahead.
Dale Macklin,
Yes?
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drappo.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Erica, I had a note that this one needs to be the second reading.
Yes, that is correct.
Make a motion to waive the second reading on this.
Second?
Discussion? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so on the motion to waive the second reading, Dale Macklin,
Yes?
Jerry Querian,
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drappo.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay. Order number 27-2023, providing for the abatement of real estate taxes on accounts that have been deemed uncollectible, or the tax collector has determined that the collection costs will be greater than the tax to be collected.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second?
Discussion? Go ahead.
Dale Macklin,
Yes?
Jerry Querian,
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drappo.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Is there a need to waive the second on that one also?
Not really.
No.
No, okay.
Okay, order number 28-2023, providing for authorization for the town manager to sign the attached dispatch service agreement with the city of Waterville for a one-year term.
So moved. Second?
Discussion? I have a question, Erica. Have they been certified as a, what do you call it?
PSAP.
PSAP.
So they're in the process of gradually taking over all of that because they said they couldn't take it all at once.
Okay.
So there's a phase-in program going on throughout the month of July. But yes, they are being authorized as a PSAP.
Okay, all right. That's all I have.
Okay, Dale Macklin,
Yes?
Jerry Querian,
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
and Peter Drappo.
Yes.
So motion passes 7-0. And,
Erica, do we need to do that one?
I don't think there's any critical deadline on that one. They're gonna, I told them it had to go on and we had to go through our readings, so.
Are they doing it now?
Have they?
Glenn, who's doing it for us right now? The dispatch. Waterville is doing it right, okay,
PSAP services are in Skowhegan River County.
okay.
Order number 29-2023, providing for authorization for the town manager to sign an amendment to the contract for engineering services for the Chaffee Brook Pump Station project with Wright Pierce per the attached document.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Go ahead.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
How much are we paying Wright and Pierce for the attached documents?
Well, I can pull it up if you give me a second.
Yeah, I have it right here, Erica.
Do you?
This-
Okay, so this amends, we had amended it once prior to bring it up to $682,204. This amendment is an additional $708,000, but that's not for the same services. Before, that only included up through design. This additional 708 brings it all the way through construction, because we also have to have construction engineering on the job. The grand total would be 1.4 million.
You good, Jerry?
Yep.
Okay.
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
And Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Are we all set on time on that one?
They didn't indicate they wanted us to waive that one, second reading, did they?
Not that I remember.
Yeah, I don't think so, because we're not going to be in construction engineering immediately,
Right.
so we've got
Okay.
time.
Order number 30-2023, providing for authorization for the Public Works Director to purchase 3 new pickup trucks from Public Works Equipment Capital and Park Equipment Capital for the total of $117,655 per the attached quote.
So move. Second.
Discussion? Go ahead.
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, I'm gonna ask again.
Need to waive the second, Paul?
Make a motion to waive the second reading.
Second. Discussion? Go ahead.
Rocky, you seconded that?
Yep.
Yep.
Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
And Peter Drapo.
Yeah, yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay, resolution number 14-2023, providing for an amendment to resolution number 10-2020 to provide a window for application in the program and to adjust prices as needed to cover the cost of the program by deleting the strike-through text and adding underlined text per the attached copy. And this is for the Hometown Heroes.
Probably ought to start putting those titles in there.
The Hometown Hero banner resolution.
So,
So move. Second.
Discussion? Okay.
Okay, Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Jerry Querian.
yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
And Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could I just make one brief statement about the Hometown Heroes
Sure.
program?
Sure.
Because we have one banner up in town, which is lovely. Unfortunately, it didn't go through the town. And I want to make very clear that the town has to sanction any banners that go up. The one that went up is not the same style as we are doing. It had absolutely no approval process through the town. So we want to recognize our veterans, but we want to do it in a cohesive way, make sure that they're put in places throughout the town that we have already authorized, and we're working with CMP to make sure that we can use their poles to do it. So I would like to just make sure that's out there so that people don't suddenly start putting up their own items on the poles. It needs to come through the town, specifically through the Parks Department's heading up this initiative.
Is that the one on the Quishman Road?
Yes. I believe our senator.
You know, through the chair of my head, that applications are accepted through July 1st through December 31st. And you can contact, here it says contact Amanda. Amanda, are you are running that program? Is that so? Amanda McCaslin's running the program, so.
It's also one of her stated goals for this fiscal year, so she's right on top of it. Fiscal year's barely started, so congratulations on that.
Okay, on to discussion items, sign ordinance.
After the last meeting, last month, we briefly discussed it with Bill Lee and Erica, with the goal of, I had originally put forward to ban or prohibit the use of signs on certain properties in town, the monuments, the parks, the whatever. Rocky made the suggestion for all town-owned property. And that's what we followed through on, and in the research that we've done, towns are all over the place on this. We can do anything from ban signs completely to allowing signs any way we want. This sort of takes the middle ground and says on town property. And it has the definition of signs. Exempts from that town-sponsored signs for town activities, and the same with the school department. And Bill's done some work on it. I think we're in agreement that this is passable.
Yes, if you want to do it.
If we want to do it. If we want to do it, there's no legal strength against not doing it.
Right,
Or if we
you
do
just-
do it.
Yeah, there are a number of rules, but
Yeah.
essentially you can't start regulating the content of signs. If you say no signs, that's easy because everybody's being treated the same. The town itself has the right to put up its own signs, basically exercising its own free speech rights. Informational signs that are put up with some frequency in front of the town hall, for example, saying when's voting day and other things like that. School department has signs it puts up about upcoming activities and so forth. And those would be allowed with the draft that I sent you. Now, whether this should be done or not, that's a policy decision.
And that's what we're here to
of the council.
discuss tonight. What's the feel of the council on this? Should we, I would suggest we proceed with an ordinance to that effect. That's up for discussion, I guess.
I got one question. And that question is how about people that want to put up a sign regarding having a sale at their house, yard sale, lawn sale? Are they gonna be able to do that?
They could certainly put up a sign on their own property. This only would regulate town property.
So,
And if it's on the, and this proposed ordinance would say signs that would be placed in the right-of-way of a public way is subject to regulation by the state. And there's a detailed set of statutes on how, for example, political signs, you can't put two within 30 feet of each other. You can't, in other words, you can't basically shadow somebody's. They can only be up for certain amounts of time and only in certain locations. The state has a comprehensive set of regulations on signs that are along the sides of any road, whether it's a town road or a state road.
so basically, for those roads, the town hasn't got any recourse.
Correct. It's
Right.
regulated by state statute. To try to have uniformity throughout the state, or else you just have, nobody would ever know what the rules are. And the state has a pretty complicated set of rules. You know how you see these directional signs at remote locations directing you to somebody's property which is not on a main thoroughfare? The state has a whole set of regulations, how big those signs can be, how often they appear, and so forth. And the state just regulates that entire area. So I put a provision in this draft just to say that sign regulation within the right-of-way of roads is governed by, and I referenced the particular statute, so somebody wouldn't be confused by that.
You're talking about.
We don't have anything, we don't really have any say in that. So
On
in
the-
political signs, you want to run for office, as long as you're not violating the state law when you put your sign in the right-of-way, you're okay, but you better pay attention to the state law.
Right.
And you don't get to put a sign right in front of your opponents, for example.
That's been around for a long time.
Been
Well, I
around,
think-
yeah, that's, Well, you know, how long ago did we ban billboards?
About 30 years ago.
Before I left part of that overall comprehensive regulation of signs, which is done at the state level.
But Bill, getting back to the right-of-way issue, for example, Monument Park, Monument Street, those are town streets around it except for
Yep.
one side of it. And if we want to prohibit signs at Monument Park on the grass, some of that grass falls within the state right-of-way possibly.
That it might
And
have to
if
take
the-
some measurements
but
there. you know.
If the underlying land is owned by the town, the state only has the right-of-way on that land, right?
Well, ownership of roads is a complicated subject.
Yeah,
Some
I
of
know
our
it is,
roads,
yeah.
we don't own, but we have by long and continuous use, have the right to have a road there. In other situations, we actually own the road. In other situations, we just, we may have an easement. So that, it's to be a complicated area. So exactly where the line is between the town right-of-way and the beginning of Monument Park that the town owns outside of that right-of-way, you'd have to take some measurements.
Okay, we're getting off the subject. State right-of-ways are not our purview. Let's end that. I'm in favor of banning political signs and any signs on town-owned property. Let's move around the room and get some opinions.
I don't have a problem with it, Dale. I think they're annoying. Do I think they're a nuisance or a safety hazard? I don't believe they are, but I do believe they're annoying. And I would be more, I guess, leaning toward banning them on town property.
Jeff?
Just put it on the agenda. That's where we'll decide it. I mean, realistically. I would agree.
You in favor of banning?
Yep.
So we'll put it on the agenda for next available opening?
Yep, please.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so we have an executive session, a motion to enter into an executive session pursuant to 1 MR.
You're still missing one discussion item? Remember the one I texted you about on Thursday?
Not
night?
really, no.
Oh, if-
Yeah, so as a
Peter.
discussion item, we were supposed to talk about
Stand by.
the,
Sorry, I just wanted to, Audra put in a lot of work for the new agenda. I really like it. I know that it was a tremendous amount of work, and I just wanted to thank you for,
That was so much easier.
yeah, so much
Good,
easier. It's
thank you.
very, very clarified. Thank you.
No, but I still missed something, so.
If you don't believe these guys, nobody is more incompetent on the computer than I am. Sitting at this table.
Thank you very much for that work.
And with
and that
just a
effort.
little bit of help, I could figure it out.
Oh, good, good.
it should be easier for the public to go back and find our agendas and stuff now. You go to that one site and you can look back through. Caveat, if it's prior to this month, you still gotta go the old way and go to the individual dates. But from July forward, both council and planning board agenda and minutes will be in this new system and should be easily searchable through the main site, so.
And I just wanted to, in the reports, I just wanted to thank Amanda for painting the pickleball courts. I just want to say that there are painted pickleball courts in the town of Winslow now, so if anybody wants to go play pickleball at the high school, there's a couple nets and some nice pickleball courts.
Just one thing on that agenda, all these papers that we get, that the public hasn't been getting before the meetings, these are now all available on the computer, the new system, all this stuff, if you want to read it. And it probably will explain a lot of things.
I learned that tonight when I went to print the agenda.
Okay.
I unplugged my computer.
Yeah.
It's only 134 pages.
And that explains a lot of
Plug it back in
things.
instead of- And now I have to print it twice because I didn't think it.
Oh, no.
I may sell the printer.
You blew the printer up.
Sometimes we get accused of going through things too quick because we've read all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And if you read it before, then it makes a lot more sense.
Okay, go ahead, Erica.
So one item that didn't make it on the discussion was for the committee to hire the public safety director now that we're past the trial period. So we have to have a public, not procurement, but a public process for that position. We need to do that before we can talk about a deputy police chief, because I would not want a public safety director to come in and not be able to hire their own deputy police chief. So the first step is to do the process for a public safety director. I have recommended a committee. I don't want to go with more than 5 people, because when you get past 5, things tend to kind of get bogged down. We want this to be a clean process. So the committee I have recommended is 1 counselor, which is Peter Drapo, obviously myself, because the person works directly for me. And we have Sue Lassard, who is the town manager in Bucksport.
Yep.
I always get Buxton and Bucksport confused, I'm sorry. But Sue has, she's very well versed in public safety departments, what it takes to run them, so she's very well qualified to assess individuals' qualifications, and she has agreed to be on that committee. Jared Mills in Augusta is both a deputy town manager and a police chief, and Tim Beals, who has a background in EMS and will be able to consider that angle of it. So that is the committee that I have put forth.
I have no problem with it.
I don't either.
Is that something we vote on, or?
No, I'm just telling you so you can bring up any concerns you see with it, but
Okay, thank you.
it's my employee, so.
How about a time frame, Erica, on this whole
I
process?
would like to get the, advertisement out within the week, so that we can start getting applications in. I would like to keep it to a 10-day advertisement. I think at this level, we're likely to get fairly quick turnaround on people who want to apply. We'd like to try and, I want to be having our interviews by the end of July, so that we can have somebody in place at some point in August that's permanent.
So by August meeting, something might be,
I mean, to have a confirmation in place where we're asking you to approve a contract, yes, I think that's doable, as long as we get this out quickly.
okay, that's fine with me.
Before we go into executive session, everybody good with that? I want to highlight on something Ray brought up a minute ago. Paul, when were the pipes breached under the river feeding the Kennebec in at the poop plant over in Waterville? 1998. We've approved damn near $3 million tonight, of which $1.5 million is an overrun of 2 years ago. This project's gonna tip the scales at damn near $10 million. I just wanna bring to everybody's attention what it would have cost if it would have been fixed when it broke. Probably $1 million. And the reason I'm bringing this up and giving this little speech, and I apologize for this, but the ridicule we take for increasing taxes, for doing our job, and believe me, this council now does its job. We don't kick the can. We do not prolong the agony. Those of us that are in business know better. But apparently, our predecessors didn't. That's what we're faced with. And I got news for you folks. I don't think the 10 million will cover it. And it's sad. It's just sad that things have been just pushed under the rug. Cans have been kicked. Existing councilors who were present for this have shown their outrage in not being heard by the majority to fix these problems when they arise. And that's what we're trying to do. That's all we're trying to do. We don't want to piss your money away. A big part of that is our money. We're just trying to do our jobs. Bringing new business into town will increase the tax base. It will help. I guess I'm apologizing for being a businessman, but that's the only way I know how to do things. You get more business, more residents, more tax base in the town, we can afford these problems. And these problems aren't gonna stop. But again, Ray brought up the fact that we've got to explain to the public that how and why we're spending their money.
Really quickly, really quickly. Erica, I know that a lot of people got their evaluations in the mail today. I got mine in the mail today. Could you just go through really in a minute the process of, if it's okay through the chair, of what exactly that evaluation means? It doesn't mean that you're gonna be taxed on the evaluation that you have. Do you want to explain it? Do you want me to attempt to, or?
I'd be happier if Judy was here to explain
Me
it, because
too,
she's the
yeah.
expert in that. However, I mean, the basic concept with both your assessment and your mill rate, both are driven, whatever budget the town sets, that's how much money has to be raised. When the assessment values go up, the mill rate comes down. When the assessment values are low, the mill rate goes up. Regardless of which way it goes, we have to raise the same amount of money. So if we're trying to raise $18 million with a valuation of, an average valuation of $250,000 per home, our mill rate needs to be higher to get to that $18 million than if the average valuation is $400,000 per home. In the end, we're raising the same amount of money no matter what. So the likelihood, even though these valuations are going out and they're higher than they were before, is the tax rate that we projected during the budget process is going to be lower than what we said. At the end of the day, we need to raise the same amount of money regardless. All other things being equal, your tax rate shouldn't be any more than it would have been had we not revalued. Your mill rate just would have been higher to get to the same dollar amount, in theory. Anyone, though, who believes that their valuation is incorrect, there are errors, there are things that weren't considered, the first step is to contact KRT Appraisal. The information is both on our website as well as the Facebook post, which has been widely read today about the letters going out. There's a link there where you can make an appointment with them to talk about your own valuation. And the next step, if you can't come to some kind of understanding with them, if you still disagree after they've explained to you where they're at, or if you've identified an error that they don't think is an error, your next step is that we can go before the Assessing Board of Appeals. Judy anticipated an increased volume of people appealing their tax assessments, so she reconvened the Board of Assessment Appeals and got them retrained. She's already had that training in place to get everybody a refresher on what it is they're doing. That's training that's given by the state, so that's the process, okay? Understand that right now, the town is not the one who came out and said, this is your valuation. The professional appraiser has come out and said, this is what the valuation is. Are those 100% correct? Not always. That's why we need to go through the process. So please, before getting angry and getting very anxious about what your tax bill is actually going to be, please take the steps to contact KRT, understand what that appraisal is that they've put on your property, and then we can take the steps from there if you want to go to an appeal.
And I think one of the important points is that the appraisal, just because it's higher, we're not raising additional money. We raised a budget, and that's the money that we have to raise. So if there was no appraisal, then it would have been the same as with the appraisal. The money's the same amount of money that we have to raise as of July of this year, so there's.
But the long and short of it is, your property values are going up to real values, to what the real estate market says they should be. But your tax bill should not go up. The mill rate will be dropped. And I got some calls today myself, and people were freaking out, and I understand. This is not a tax bill. This is just a new value of your property, done by professionals.
Just to reiterate a few things, your tax bill, your actual tax bill that you're gonna be getting here sometime should not go up except for the increase in the budget that took effect July 1st. That was, I think, what was it, 1.2?
We were at 1.3, I believe, at the end of the day, but that's not gonna be what it is. That is based on raising,
Okay, but
But
an individual could see a difference. Because if my tax rate went up 100% and your tax rate went up 75%, it's going to affect me more than it affects you.
and there's no balance to that? Like
we're right on the edge of stepping on our tongues here.
Yes, we are, and I would really prefer for Judy to be
come
in
and
there.
explain this, because there isn't anybody at this table that's well-versed in it,
No.
Right.
right?
That's
So,
true.
but in a perfect world, the tax bills should not go up,
Right.
other than the increase in the budget.
Other than the increase in the budget, and if you did major modifications to your home over the last budget
Right.
tenure, you're gonna see an increase in your tax.
But again, let's let
Let's not,
Judy
yeah.
explain
Yeah,
this.
I think you're making a very good point, because part of what's being said, it could be misleading.
Correct.
On average, one goes up, the other goes down, but individuals, some people are gonna see a
Yeah.
big increase in their taxable value, and others, they may see their taxable value go down potentially. Anyway.
Taxable value,
I
but
just-
not the tax bill. Let's wait for the person that does this every day to explain it, because we are gonna step on our
I
tongue.
thought it was just an opportunity to roughly explain the process so that people don't.
It's not a
understand
tax
the
bill.
process.
This is what everybody got today, and is going to be getting for the next 2 weeks, is not a tax
I
bill.
know.
So going
Okay.
back to the point, regardless of what your tax bills end up being, the town needs to raise $15.7 million through taxes. So that will not change. Your taxes won't go up and we're like, oh, now all of a sudden we're gonna reap the benefit and get $18 million. That's not how it'll work. That's why the actual tax bills aren't determined till after the commitment goes through in August. So everything, when we go through budget and give you what we think that mill rate's gonna be, that is a best guess at the time based on the information we have. And it doesn't become final. Usually we have a higher estimate built into the budget than what it actually ends up being. It could go the other way, but that's not the norm. Normally, it's less. The truth is, we aren't gonna know what that means in your tax bill until Judy's able to do the commitment. But again, look over what your assessed value, is. Talk to KRT about it. And Judy is your in-house expert. I wouldn't pretend to understand this in any kind of depth. And I really wouldn't want to give you bad information either.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, so executive session, motion to enter into executive session
So moved. Second.
Pursuant to.
pursuant to MSRA subsection 406, 4056E, consultation with legal and corporate counsel.